Hey guys, welcome back to Cratylus Gaming. This is Anthony. Today we're going to talk about Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs Legion is the third in the series and the first developed by Ubisoft Toronto. The story follows a group of local insurgents known as DedSec in their efforts to take back London from a veritable who's who of modern tropes vying for control of the populace. From massive technology corporations to the military-industrial complex to gangs dealing in slaves, Watch Dogs Legion sets out to portray what a true police state London would look like.
Look around. It's Albion, fucking Albion everywhere. It's burnt into the skin of this city. This isn't just propaganda. This is a fucking psychological cattle tie.
New to this franchise is the ability to recruit and play as any NPC in the game. This mechanic, highly anticipated leading up to launch, was to allow players to build and recruit their own team based around their unique playstyle and available options. You'll play as whoever you like as you make your way through the main questline in your attempt to retake London. Visually, there isn't much to get into here. Watch Dogs Legion is another example of a well-done open-world map by Ubisoft. This time it is a mostly faithful recreation of London. The city looks really good. It's clear that attention was paid to small details, and just as in Odyssey, you can spend lots of time traversing the map to take in the sights. Same with the audio, and I'm not referring to the voice acting in this section. We'll get to that later. But overall, in terms of sound effects and music, it's pretty decent. Certain vehicles sound a bit off, same with certain weapons, but all in all, the audio experience is what you would expect from a Ubisoft title. There was some nice licensed tracks as well, and I thought the score overall was really good. The game controls feel smooth and responsive. The shooting and cover system is watered down, of course, but it does feel polished for what it is. Driving is a bit clunky, as I mentioned in my impressions video. It feels too rigid and one-dimensional. There are some cool mechanics around hacking and using drones and spider bots. These are also pretty rudimentary, mostly involving the player going to a location to press a button to interact or download data, but these elements do add an additional dimension to the gameplay that makes the game more enjoyable. One of my favorite hacks was on vehicles. You can hack any vehicle and make it go forward, backward, left, or right. This makes chase sequences more exciting and challenging, trying to nail that perfect hack as you evade pursuers. Sadly, chase sequences aren't a big part of the game and are only used a couple times. It also doesn't help that the GTA style wanted system is absolutely terrible. The wanted system makes little to no sense, Albion vehicles stick to you like glue, and the system is far too easy to beat very quickly. It makes the few chase sequences that are in the game somewhat anticlimactic. This is a missed opportunity.
Find the bollards! Control, we are pursuing the suspect.
Switching between operatives is easy enough, though I wish Ubisoft had taken more of a GTA style approach and had operatives living their lives as normal when you switched over to them, dropping the player in the location the operative is in at the time of the switch, instead of just spawning the operative at the exact location you make the switch. It's minor touches like these that go a long way, but that Ubisoft can't seem to be bothered with. In terms of the recruitment system, players will constantly be fed a stream of potential recruits by the game, suggesting people or rewarding you with certain operatives if you choose to complete the side missions to liberate certain sections of the city. The recruitment missions themselves are boring and repetitive. We are in standard Ubisoft copy and paste territory here, with the same recycled missions again and again. Also, I found that the character bios, i.e. who the game purported the NPC to be, was inconsistent with the missions and narrative surrounding their recruitment. For example, I talked about my judge recruit in the earlier video, and I also had a fashion model who also happened to work at an Albion warehouse loading trucks. This was disappointing and immersion breaking. Also immersion breaking, the constant onslaught of these circuit puzzles. I feel like they were in every mission in some variation, but always the same thing all the time. It was like every mission was go in, kill a bunch of bad guys, and unlock the server with this circuit puzzle. Really hard to get into and very boring. Of course, the game has an upgrade system and unlockable gadgets and non-lethal weapons for the player to acquire. The player needs to collect tech points to unlock upgrades by completing missions and finding caches of points in the game world. The upgrades allow the player to hack new types of drones, turn enemy drones against the enemy, and a host of other special abilities mostly centering around drones and the spider bot. And it just wouldn't be Ubisoft without microtransactions. So yes, obviously they make an appearance here. Look, take microtransactions as you will. I personally don't find anything wrong with them, so long as they don't interfere or influence my ability to play the actual game at a reasonable level of enjoyment. What I mean by that is that when I purchase a game, I have a reasonable expectation of the entertainment value and playability of the game. As long as the game isn't designed to forcibly compel you to spend real money in order to continue playing or to make meaningful progress, then microtransactions are perfectly acceptable. In this case, they are purely cosmetic items, clothing, masks that the player can purchase if they feel they want to. This brings us to the overall feel of the game world. How well did Ubisoft Toronto do in creating this dystopian London? We've been over the look of the city. It looks good and the sound effects and score are decent, but that's where the good ends. Firstly, let's talk about the voice acting. So it seems that because the game has thousands of NPCs, Ubisoft only had a much smaller pool of actors. This led them to the idea of modulating the voices they had to create variation in different NPC voiceovers. While I applaud Ubisoft for putting some effort into this, instead of slapping the same voice on hundreds of NPCs, the end result misses the mark. The voices sound unnatural, off, and out of place in most cases. The city itself is stagnant. Remember those liberation missions I mentioned earlier? You do these liberation missions to break Albion's hold on a district, and what happens in that area when all is said and done? Literally nothing happens. The city stays exactly the same for the entire game. The only time the city felt alive and responsive was at the very end of the game during a scripted sequence. Other than that, for all the resisting DedSec does throughout the game, the setting stays exactly the same. The beautiful rendition of London also lacks any meaningful interactivity. The player can go into bars and drink and play darts, but that's it. Again, this makes it hard to get into the world and story because every chance the game gets to pull you into it, it shuts the door in your face, either through bad mechanics like the recruitment missions, or some horrible voice acting, or the lack of interactivity with the game surroundings, i.e. the city of London.
Are you DedSec? Oh, thank God, I need your help.
This brings us to the plot. I won't go into too much detail in terms of the specific plot elements, but I will talk about a very minor spoiler, so fair warning. After finishing the main story, I can safely say that this is, without a doubt, one of the worst storylines I have ever played through in a game, bar none, not even close. I have never had this much trouble suspending disbelief and getting into a story in all the years I've been playing games. It just doesn't work. It's absolutely atrocious. It starts off well enough, your standard fall from grace, redemption, revenge, whodunit story, but quickly devolves into a nonsensical series of arcs that don't really make sense and feel more like the game is stalling for time, trying to artificially extend the experience. Apart from the story not making much sense, it is, strangely, at the same time, utterly predictable, to the point I was literally narrating what the next cutscene would be as I was playing through or driving to the next mission. It isn't helped by this be anyone mechanic, as story beats feel canned and forced as they are all pre-made for every possible different character you could be. The result is the player having little investment in the story to begin with. From there, the actual story does all the heavy lifting in terms of making the player bored, disinterested, and confused. The few static characters the story does have are all cliched and uninteresting. I personally found Hamish and Sabine to be absolutely unbearable to listen to. Of course, there were some good cutscenes that were well written and well acted, but that doesn't make up for the overall state of the plot. At one point, the game gives you what seems to be a crucial choice on whether to kill or spare a main character, but the choice literally has no effect on the story whatsoever, save for 2 lines of dialogue. This begs the question, why is it in the game?
Oh, there you go. Asking the right questions.
In the end, you're left wondering what the point of the whole thing was. Your guess is as good as mine. The game presents a plethora of relevant, serious, modern-day issues. It purports to explore these issues through its storyline, through the philosophy of the organization of DedSec. But when the dust settles, you have nothing to show for it. No insights, no consequences, no answers. The fact is, Watch Dogs Legion is an exercise in complete mediocrity. The watered down gameplay, the terrible writing, the beautiful but empty open world. It's hard to reconcile the high ratings this game has received since its release. It's even harder to conceptualize a reality in which Watch Dogs Legion would be an 8 or receive a perfect score. This game is far from an 8. The truth is, we should expect better from our game developers, especially Ubisoft. With all of its money and resources, this is the best product they can provide. I give Watch Dogs Legion a 2.5 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked this video, be sure to leave us a like, comment, let me know what you thought about Watch Dogs Legion, if you liked it, didn't like it, what you thought about the story. Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like my videos, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have a lot more content planned coming out every week, so hit that bell notification to get notified anytime I drop a new video. This is Anthony with Cratylus Gaming. Until next time.